In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace some exterior window trim. And we're going to do it right now. So here I have some old window trim on the outside of my house. This was probably done in about the 60s. And if I kept paint on it like I should have, this might not be as bad. But regardless, this side of the house gets the most sun. So if you take a close look, it's all drying up just from getting all that sun, and then expansion and contraction is making this pop out. The sill obviously needs some paint. There's no rot, so I don't think water is the issue. I think it's all just the sun drying this out. You can see right here, this is all cracked like this. Again, keeping this covered in paint would probably help. But since I don't want to just caulk this all in and paint it again because it's just going to keep happening, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear it off and I'm going to replace it with PVC. This will be the only window on my house that has PVC, but it's on the side where this just gets beat with sun. All this siding is starting to curl up and everything, and that's a whole other issue. But today we're just going to focus on replacing these two pieces and the top, and hopefully it's going to be pretty easy. So first thing, let's tear these off. So this has been like this for a while. I'm gonna start right here because I'm curious if anything got in here and made a mess. Probably not, hopefully not, but we'll see. But that's the kind of stuff that I want to avoid. It's insects and bees and water, of course. So making it easy for me to just take these nails out like this, and I can start it carefully. This is a replacement window, by the way, so it should stop right about here. I'm gonna make sure I seal that up when I put the new trim on. I don't want to pry too hard against it. There we go. Once I get in there, I can pry out like this. And then if I tap it, get this nail out. Old caulking, and I think this is old insulation. Nothing as far as water damage or insects that I can see. And what's nice is there's plywood here. I took out some window trim on the other side of my house and there was no plywood. And this is also tar paper, which is like the old school home wrap, basically. So that's nice that that's there. It's been doing its job for the past 60 years, so I'm gonna leave it there. And I'll try and seal this up a little bit, put some more insulation in here, and make sure this window's sealed when I put the new stuff on here. There we go. Trying not to mess up the sill too much. Got a nail right here. See if I can get that out. That side looks good too. Same thing, some old insulation here, but no signs of water damage or bugs. This is all solid. If you did have some water damage or some bugs, don't worry. I got videos for that. I'll leave a couple in the description here. But cool. I'll take the top piece off. When I pull this one out, I want to be careful of this piece right here. This is a rain cap. So I want to leave that there, because that is what stops water from coming in on the backside there. It's an important piece. And it was missing on another one of my windows, and that was the reason it really rotted out. So it's nice that this one's here. Might be some caulking and paint kind of attaching it itself here. So just gonna carefully go along and loosen it up. Oh, so dry over here. Everything's brittle. Okay, and with that piece gone, you can see all this old insulation tucked in up there, but everything looks good. And this is the rain cap right here. It's just a piece of metal that folds down over that trim and then stops water from getting in behind the trim. One thing that I have to do with an old window like this is this right here, this little piece sticking out. I'm gonna have to chisel that back. That is actually further than the replacement window. And that is because these old windows, they have this channel right here, kind of routed out, so it locks in to this right here. But we're not gonna need it because we're gonna put trim right over it. So I'm just gonna get a chisel and chisel that off even with this right here. Just want to make sure that's even, or even this sticking past further than this. So we've had this conversation so many times that I'm a little burnt out, but I'm going to do it one more time. I am not a huge fan of spray foam. I have used it in certain situations. I've had good experiences, I've had poor experiences. So what I'm gonna do for insulation here is I'm gonna add some more fiberglass. You can see there's fiberglass from when I remodeled this bedroom. I tucked it in here. I didn't stuff it in there. I just tuck it in there lightly because you need an air gap for this to work properly. The problem I find with spray foam is, first, it makes a mess. Sometimes it expands too much. It'll push out through this trim if I'm not careful. With fiberglass, I know that it's gonna be fine. As soon as I put it in there, it's not gonna do anything. And I'm gonna be sealing this so water isn't gonna get in there regardless, hopefully. So you can use whatever you want. If you wanna use spray foam, it's very common for small spaces like this to fill with spray foam. But as long as you're careful with fiberglass, there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you don't jam it in there, you just tuck it in like this. Make sure there's an air gap. I like to rip off the excess and just fill in that void. And I'm actually gonna leave this old insulation because I think this is like a rock wool, which I think is pretty good stuff. And it's all been there for 60 plus years and it's fine. So again, it's up to you. This is what I'm doing. So I'm gonna fill all these voids with some more insulation. There's some more rock wool down here. I'm actually just gonna leave that in there because that's pretty good stuff. It's just a different material. But anywhere there's a gap, carefully tuck in some fiberglass. Tuck, don't jam. Tuck, don't jam, jam, tuck, don't jam, tuck, don't jam. Buy spray foam if you want, I don't really care. This works for me, that's what I say all the time. Now I'm gonna go around and make sure all the nails are out, make sure this is all cleaned up, and I have like pieces of caulking like this, caulking and paint. Make sure that's all cleaned up. Like that, all the way around. Make sure this rain cap is bent the right way. It doesn't get caught when I put the trim on there. All clear here. So this does have the tar paper here, which I said is like an old school home wrap. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, it's kind of butyl tape, or it has like a sticky membrane kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of different ones like this that will seal windows and doors and roofs and everything else. They also call it ice and water. So I'm gonna use this to seal up from here to here as an extra precaution. There has been no water issues in the past 60 years over here, but just in case, this stuff was pretty inexpensive, and it has like an aluminum finish. That's the only difference. So I'll just cut it to width and just barely cover this window so that when I put the trim on, you're not gonna see this sticking out. So I'm gonna do the sides first. That way when I put this piece on, it overlaps. If you think about the way water runs, it would run down, go over the top piece, and then over the side piece. So just get a length, roll this out kind of like this, hold it to where it needs to be. I'll cut that. It should work for both sides. It's okay if it's a little short up here because we're putting another piece up. So I'll cut them both to this length and then trim them to width. Okay, I think I can do 4 3/8. That way it'll just barely be over this lip. It's okay if it's a little short, I can hold it away from the siding. Ideally what I would do is pull the siding back a little bit and, you know, run it in behind there, but that's gonna be a nightmare. And as I said, not really worried about water. This is just an extra step. So I made a mark on my ladder here. You can do this however you want. This is gonna be my little hack. And I can hold this like that and then make a couple marks like this. Instead of holding the tape measure and making a bunch of marks, just hold it to the edge and mark it. Roll it out a little bit, hold it to the edge and mark it. I'm just kind of holding my knife and pulling it through. There. I'm going to put the cut towards the siding so this is nice and even. And I'm going to start from the bottom because I want to have it tight down here. This has this piece that you pull off, and then it has sticky back. Be careful, because once it sticks, it sticks. I'll hold it right tight to the bottom, just overlap that window just a little bit. Perfect. And if that bumps it out away from this a little bit, that's okay, because we're gonna caulk this all in. All right, then I'll get a measurement for the top. So right here, this is what I mean by having it overlap this way. Think of water coming down the siding. That's why siding is the way it is, like this. This is underneath this piece. It goes like this, and then it'll go over the rain cap on this, if water got back there, and then over this one. So now we're finally ready for trim. And like I said, got PVC trim, and I ended up getting 1x6. There was 1x5 here before, but I like going a little bigger so that way I can rip it to whatever I need. And it turns out that I need 4 3/4 because I want to make everything the same. So 4 3/4 will come down just about 1/4 inch past this, and then it'll leave me a little bit of a reveal here, about 3/8. And that's going to work about the same all the way around. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but the white on white, this reveal here, you'll never be able to tell. So I'll be able to rip them all at 4 3/4, and I'll get a measurement for the length here for my top piece first. 38 3/4 strong. The thing about PVC and ripping it on a table saw is it makes an absolute mess, and it's like staticky. It gets a static charge from being cut. So just be aware of that. I'm gonna rip them first. 4 3/4. And that's what I'm talking about. It's absolutely everywhere. And before I make my cuts, I just want to check and make sure I got the good side. Make sure it didn't get damaged in shipping or at the store or anything like that. This is a little dirty, and it's staticky, so stuff is sticking to it, but this looks good. So I'm gonna square one end, just in case. 8 3/4 strong, and cut it. Okay, I'm gonna dry fit this, which means just putting it in without attaching it, because I wanna see how it fits, and it's gonna fit perfect. Be able to screw it in and then fold this drip edge down, or this rain cap. But what I wanna do is make sure that when I put the screws in here, I actually hit something, because there's nothing worse than missing and then putting an ugly hole in the trim, having to move the screw. So right here, there's a gap. I know there's wood right here, and then there's a gap right here. So I'm gonna have to go high here and a little high right here. And then on either edge, I know that there's plenty to screw to there. Same thing over here. So just to be 100% safe, I'll measure, make sure I'm hitting something. Gap right there. So I wanna go about 2 inches from here for that screw, and then go up high. Here's an extra step that's probably not necessary, but I'm gonna do it. 100% silicone, exterior grade, and I'm just gonna run a bead up on the top and on the sides. Just in case. Remember, silicone isn't paintable, so make sure it doesn't come out and then not be able to paint it. Put in our first piece. I'm putting the rip up and the good side out. There. Squish that silicone. Make sure this is even right here. But I'm gonna go nice and tight to the top, like that. I'll put one screw right in the middle. These are PVC trim screws. You can also get ones with plugs, so you can't see a screw at all. This will work for me. Just like that. Just sink the head in just a little bit. I'll go on this side, right here. Push it up. That. And the other side. I like to put the screws somewhat even, so it looks better, if anybody was to judge. That pulled that right in. Sweet. Okay. That looks good. It's sucked in nice and tight. I'm just gonna clean up the silicone here for now on both sides, and we can do the side pieces. Now, before we cut the pieces for the side, we have to take into account the angle of this sill. It goes down slightly like this. I think it's probably gonna be about a 15-degree angle. But as an example of things in construction being, having more than one way to do things, I get comments all the time saying I would have done it like this, and that's totally fine. You do it however you want. But here's a good example. Here's how you could find this angle for the sill. Take a scrap piece and hold it like this, and you can see it's a very slight angle. So you could guesstimate it like this, or you could hold your pencil like this and scribe it, and then take that to your chop saw, match up that angle. You could take an angle finder, hold it down like this. You could use a speed square, or you could just cut it straight and caulk it in. Totally up to you. I'm gonna scribe it because that's the easiest. So I'm putting it like that. Did the pencil mark. Now I'm gonna take this to the chop saw and cut it and make sure it is good before I go measuring and cutting the pieces for the sides. Now I have that piece right here. I'm just gonna shift the saw, and we'll start at 15 because that's what I think it's gonna be. And then bring the blade down. Look at that. Now since we cut right on that line, should have a perfect angle. Oh no, just kidding, it's backwards. Good. There is a gap right here because of how this is. I could notch that out, but I'm not doing that. Just cock that in. So we have our measurement, but keep in mind that gap right there. So I'm gonna wanna measure the short side of this angle, which is in the back. And then when I cut it, I wanna cut the angle first, measure from that short point to the other square end, and cut it that way. Don't get confused. Easy to do. Hold it to my short point, go straight up, 52 5/8. And also remember, I want to put my rip towards the siding, so the good side is shown, the factory edge. So it's going to be like this. Make sure this side is good, and make sure we're doing the angle properly. So if we imagine that the top and this is the bottom, I want my angle to be just like this. Saw's already set to 15 degrees. Hopefully this makes it all the way through. Now, flip it down like this and measure from the short side, remember, like this. 52 5/8. And I'm actually going to transfer this mark so that when I cuts it on the front. That gives it less of a chance to mess up the cut. Put my saw back to 0. Perfect. Nice and tight. I'll take this out. And then I'm going to run a bead of silicone. Again, probably not necessary, but all the way down this siding. And then on the bottom here, I'll seal that up nice and tight. Some people like to leave something open down here so water can escape if it does get in there, but I'm gonna try not to let water get in there at all. That's how I roll. I'll stop right there, and then the rest I'll do with paintable caulking. There is the old frame for the window right here. So I'm gonna make sure to hit that. And then I have plenty over here. Pop that in the top first. Make sure it's going the right way. Okay. Get it even. That looks good. Now you can see that this is not even with the top trim. It's set in a little bit, and that's totally fine. I am okay with that. In fact, some trim is designed that way, where this will be 5/4 and this will be 3/4, so it'll be thicker. And that way, again, the way the water runs comes down and goes like this over this. So I'm fine with it. Turns out I'm running out of trim screws, and instead of buying a whole pack, I'm just gonna put less. It's a good idea to put them every 16 inches or so. I'm just gonna do 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and then 2 in the middle. And that's about 20 inches. It'll be fine. Now you can see that this is kind of at an angle. This went in a lot more than this. So what I'm gonna do is back this screw out, and it's gonna pull the trim, kind of like that. Cool, and then the silicone will hold that. Now we can do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that works. Of course it's gonna, but you never know. 52 5/8 shy. Okay, dry fit looks good. We can attach it, but silicone it first. I didn't check to see where the wood was here. From what I remember, it was a little further away than that side, so let's see. Let's see if I get lucky. All right, I missed. So now I'm gonna have a hole right here, but I just missed by that much. I'm just gonna have a hole here and I'll fill it with some caulking. But I need to be like right here. Got it that time. Measuring this one. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but this PVC is a different color than the window. It's a different color than the trim that I painted all the rest of the trim. And you can paint PVC, but you can't tell that bad. So I'm not gonna paint this. I am gonna caulk this all in, and I am gonna paint this sill. So I'm gonna scrape all this old paint off, probably gonna get right down to the bare sill, and then I'll caulk all this in and paint this up. Then I'm gonna take some 150 grit sandpaper and sand this down. Get some more of that paint off and get this ready for priming. Now I'm gonna use some Dynaflex 230. I've had good luck with this recently, so I don't know, I kind of like it. So I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna bead down here. It's white and it is paintable. Let's seal this whole thing up. And then I'm gonna caulk in wherever this trim meets the window. I'm gonna do kind of a thicker bead because this is exterior and I don't want any leaks. There we go. And my little whoopsie here. I'm gonna let that dry for a little bit. It's actually drying really quick because the sun's right on it. I want it to be a little dry before I prime this. Almost forgot. I wanna tap this rain cap down, fold it down over this trim carefully. You guys might know at this point that this is my favorite primer. Cover stain from Zinsser. I use it so much that I just leave a brush in there and a roller. Putting plenty of this on since this is pretty much bare wood. It's going to be outside. I'm going to take that sanding sponge and just give this a light sand. And then we'll do trim paint. Okay, there's one coat of paint. I need another coat on this sill, but that's going to be nice and protected now. And I might actually end up painting this trim if the difference between the white bothers me. Maybe when I do this, because I got to fix this at some point. But the main focus of this was to take out the old trim and prevent it from doing what it was doing before, drying up and splitting and having all these places where water, moisture, air, everything else, insects can get into the house. This is all sealed up and it's better than this for sure. So a pretty easy project, but if you didn't know where to start, hopefully this video gives you some ideas and it helps you out. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Some window trim on the outside of your house. Get a good shot of that? Are you sure? You can even chisel it this way. No, bad idea. I'm gonna be vacuuming the grass. Not today, guys, we're filming over here. 2 side pieces. That's my side piece. It's like a human table saw. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know what that saying even means. Have you seen the side of this house? It's fine. A little caulking. And now, since we cut right at that line, what are you gonna say? Nothing? You can see that this is not even. That's okay. A lot of houses are little long again. What are you doing, Matt? Always punch it. But it. Never claimed to be that good at caulking. Okay, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Won't see that from the road. Right? Touch it. Hold this, will you? Check, 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 check. Yuck. Don't mind my paint line. It's a little crooked. It didn't dry out and keep. If you didn't have any, it's just this stuff is so clingy. Kind of like my